Get started here. Today we are continuing to talk about Diffable Data Source. Just for a recap, so we built an app. Let me go to the app that we built. We built an app a couple days ago using Diffable Data Sources, and our app was able to count down from 10, 9, 8, 7 to 0, and we were able to add this extra row in by passing in a value of -1 to get our table rendered. And along the way, Diffable Data Sources give us animations really easily. So it's a very powerful API. In this particular app, we only have one section, and in that section, there's items in that particular section. So today, we'll build a different app where that app has multiple sections. Everybody has access to the canvas, to the lesson, to this lesson, the one I'm looking at?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Okay, very good. So everybody has access to that particular lesson. So go down to, what are we building today? Go down to, where am I? Go down to number 10. Does number 10 say shopping list app? Yes? No? Maybe? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
All right,
Yes.
I really need the audio feedback because I'm all alone. I want to see myself.
It's a little, it's not impossible, but like switching back from the screen, it takes a second. So it might take a second for us to respond.
Okay, all right, second delay. I'm okay with that. Okay, so number 10, we're building a shopping list app today. Today, the objective is to get the app such that it shows the sections. And as we keep building that app out, we'll have the user be able to add an item to any section they want. Like we'll have a UI such that I could put in the name of an item, I could select the category of item, give it a price, and click add to shopping list or whatever, and we'll add it to whatever section we decide to. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
And also we'll be able to delete any item from that list, and we'll be able to reorder. So that's like where we'll end, but not today. Today, our objective is to get this UI happening such that Diffable Data Sources, we set up our sections. So the objective is to get multiple sections in our shopping list. Okay, and those are the steps we'll be going through. We'll be going back and forth here, but those are the steps we're going through. One, we'll create an app, a project called Shopping List. Then we'll create an enum called category that will encompass categories such as running, technology, health, and such. And that enum by default is hashable, so that makes it a viable type for the section identifier. Because everybody, if we recall, our UI table view Diffable Data Source has two types. It has a section type, which has to be hashable, and it has an item identifier type, which has to be hashable. Good? We'll have an item as well for the item identifier, called item. It's going to have a name property, a price, a category of type category. It's going to have an identifier of type UUID. And on that identifier, we'll take it one step further and we'll say, make it the hashable property of our item. And as we said earlier this week, today we'll take a look at subclassing UI table view Diffable Data Source. We'll subclass it because we'll be able to now encompass protocol methods like title for row, because we'll need title for row. So we'll have like a separate class that has the title for row, in section function, along with any other protocol methods we want. So we'll take a look at how that subclass will work. And then we'll go ahead and configure our table view. We'll configure the data source like we did a few days ago. And we'll create our initial snapshot. We'll create some test data for our items such that it reflects what we have here, or almost what reflects what it has there. Feel free to create your own categories, by the way. Don't adhere to like what we type in into the lesson. So feel free to add your own categories, your own items, up to you there. Make it personal to you if you feel for it. Yeah, so that's it. And at the end of this particular lesson today, we should have this app at the end of it. Any questions before we jump into starting the app?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So let's get started. Let's now navigate to Xcode. Let me get a new window here. Let's navigate to Xcode and create a new project. What did we say the name of the project is?
Shopping list.
Shopping list. Okay, so shopping list. Thank you, Mr. Brandon. Swift, storyboard, continue. Desktop is fine. And here we have our project. Let me change my preferences. Dark, large, it's fine. Okay, cool. So to quickly see what our app looks like, it looks like it's embedded in a navigation controller, correct? So we'll go ahead and embed our view controller in a navigation controller. We're not gonna add the items right now. We'll add that in code and we'll add that later, but we'll just give it a title for now. So let's go ahead and set up the UI in Storyboard. So go to your main storyboard, and simply just embed our view controller in a nav controller. And like we did before, we'll just set up the table view in code. So that's all we need to do here. So now go back to our view controller and let's set up our code here. So in our view controller, well, what's the first step? Actually, let's add here with the steps. What's our first step in building this app based on our lesson plan?
Need to create an enum.
Okay, and what's it called?
Category.
Okay, so let's create a new file, thank you. So let's create a new file. It's a Swift file. And it's called, let me take this out of the way. It's called category. Okay, so here we have our enum called category. And here we have our cases. So again, feel free to add your own categories. I'll add run in here. Don't know why, but I'll add run in here. We'll give it a raw type of string value. We'll make it case iterable. Anybody recall what case iterable protocol does?
It basically allows you to run all the cases as an array of the type that you provide.
Very good. So it makes that enum iterable, right? So now I could use a for loop as an array or a dictionary and loop through my cases. Right? Very good. Thank you, sir. So here I'm saying running. I'll give it a raw value of running. I'm gonna have technology. Give it raw value of technology. Education. Health. Household.
This probably doesn't matter, but do you want to maybe just make running fitness instead of running?
Running fitness. Well, there's running, there's swimming. I could have swimming as well.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Just make it fitness in general instead of.
I put swimming instead of running. That's what I had.
It could be the way I set it up here. It's based on my not personality, but my my buying habits.
Yeah, the stuff you need.
Yeah, so you could set it up based on what you. If it's more general for you, you could totally just do fitness. But for me, it's more finer than that. So I could have running shoes. I could have swimming goggles.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yep. And we'll have a shopping cart. Yeah, feel free to make it personal to you. Sure. At the end of the day, you could even add persistence as well, it will not do in this app, but you could feel free to add persistence as well and keep going further with the app, right? I think I heard Mr. Bien. Okay, cool. That's that. So we have, those are the sections. We're not hard coding any sections. There's nothing there. So what this category is going to do, as Mr. Bien said, we could just say category, give me how many sections you have, right? And if you do not have case iterable, you cannot do this. You'd have to add like an extra case and do some extra coding yourself to handle that. But since I think since Swift 4.2, I think, we have case iterable here. So now that gives Enum even more power. Now I could just say category dot all cases. How many cases do you have? Or category, I want to loop through you for some category in category dot all cases, go through all the categories. So this is very powerful. Great. So this is what we have for our category here.
The shopping cart isn't this a shopping cart?
This is not a shopping cart. We could, at the end of the day, we'll be able to move items from like running to a shopping cart section.
Okay, so you're just putting it there.
Yep.
Okay.
Very good. Good questions. Keep them coming. Okay, somebody else. What's our next step in this process here? What else are we doing? We've created our category. If you were to follow the lesson, what else are we doing?
The next thing.
The shopping list.
The what?
Creating a model. Am I whispering?
No, go ahead. I didn't hear you.
We're creating a model for the shopping list.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we were not hearing you. It was going in and out. So we'll create a model. So we'll create a new file. Thank you, Chelsea. So we'll create a new file, Swift. We'll go say item. So it's a Swift file. We call it item. And this is our model for this app. It's going to be a struct. It's an item. It's called item, sorry. And we have properties. We have a name, which is of type string. We have a price, which is of type string. We have a category. What type is category? Is it string?
Category.
Category, very good. And we have an identifier. We have our IDs. We'll just set that as a UID here right away. And that's it. So we have our properties here. And we said we'll also implement the hashable property. Okay. So we'll say func. It's called hash. We'll say into hasher. It's an in-out function of type hasher. Here is the hash function. So hasher is the hash Swift.
Do we want our price to be a string?
Oh no,
Are we
very
gonna
good.
be-
Thank you, sir. This is a double.
Okay.
Very good. Yeah, if you see those things, please let me know quickly. Thank you, Kelby. Yeah, price is not
No
a string
problem.
for sure. Price is a double. Eventually, we'll convert a double to a string, but no, for now, price is a double for sure. So here we'll suggest what property is going to be used as the hashable property, and here we'll say it is the identifier. Right. You could combine many properties here. Like I could say I also want to have price as a hashable property, but for now it's only the identifier. Okay, great. Our property, our item is looking pretty good. The next thing we'll do.
What is that though? The hash in out.
That says my item, the one thing I want to make unique, or the unique value I want to be hash, the unique value I want to take out of that item, or I want that item to represent, is the identifier.
I don't get it.
Because item has to be hashable, right?
Uh-huh.
Item has to be hashable. If I do not implement this, then it just takes all those values and makes them hashable properties. But you could say what property you want to be that unique property in your model.
Oh, and the identifier would be that unique property.
Yeah,
Okay.
this one here.
No, totally understood, because it has to be hashable when we actually implement it into our for
UI.
for the UI. Okay, so it's possible to just make one thing hashable, and it'll only look for that one hashable thing within the item.
Yep, exactly.
So do you still have to conform at the top?
Yes, because if I don't, what's going to happen? I'm going to get an error later from the compiler when I try to do UI table view default data
So
source.
then what you do is that you just call item.hash, and it would specifically give you the identifier, because that's what you gave it.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So when we do that, category here, not category, why am I saying category? When I do, wait, no. This is category, sorry. And this is item. So when I do that, if category is not hashable, like, sorry, here. If item is not hashable, then the compiler will tell me, hey, item is not a hashable property, hashable object. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Very good. So here, again, if you don't implement this hash function, it will just take all the values and make them hashable. It will combine them. Okay.
You said if we don't include that function, it makes everything hashable?
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, where's the piece of paper?
Mats, oh, sorry. 1 second, everybody. 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay. What else we have to do here? So we need some test data. Let's create some test data. Our test data. What is
Alex, just to clarify that hash thing, you're saying that if we didn't specify that we wanted the identifier to be the, if we didn't add that function, it would
automatically hash all our properties.
So it would use all the properties to create a hash value.
Yep, exactly.
That's okay. So then adding that function will make it so that just the identifier is used in order to create the hash value.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Very good. Everybody got what Christian, not Christian, what Cameron rehashed here? Rehashed. Everybody?
Very good job, Christian. Yes.
All right. All right, very good. Okay, cool. So let's create some test data. Create some test data here. Create test data. We'll create a static function. We'll call it test data. It returns, what should test data return?
An array of items.
An array of items. Very good. Awesome. Great. So let's return an array of items. So what items do I want to create here? Let me go back to this guy, blow that up a little bit. All right, let's create some items. Item has a name, has some price, has some category. Running. Name here, I'll say Polar. Feel free to add your own items. We'll just add enough items to populate all the sections. Let's see. Make this easier. Maybe we could just grab some items somewhere. Give me a second.
Just fill this out. Just make an array of items that we want.
Yeah, just make an array of items. You can make your own personal items.
Yeah.
For sure. But try to populate all the sections if you can. Or I could just grab some data here. This is build. Okay, let me just slug that out to you guys so you have items. You don't have to type all that out. 6.3. There we go. We have test data. So copy that, build it, make sure it builds without errors. I'll pause here to make sure everybody's on board before we continue.
You want us to add this on top of what we've already made?
If you've made already, that's fine. Like if you have enough items for each section, that's okay. If not, you could just go ahead and grab that one. Or also just add it to the one you have already. So you have double the items. So now we have, so we're going to step 3, very good. If I was just to go to step 3 here, we just created our model. We actually created the test data already as well. And now we're about to subclass, because remember we haven't seen subclass in UI table view diffable data source. So we'll actually do that for step 4. We'll go ahead and subclass it. And before we actually configure the data source, so we'll subclass it first. We'll subclass UI table view diffable data source. Did everybody implement their test data function?
Yes.
Okay, very good. If anybody is still working, please let me know, because I don't want to miss anybody along the way. Feel free to say, hey, I still need a minute or anything like that.
I need a second because I don't have running. So everything that's running, and I don't have triathlon, so I'm trying to.
What are you trying to say? You're not a triathlete?
No, I ain't.
You're making a platform for everybody, not just for yourself.
Wow.
All right.
I'm just trying to take out like excess. Sorry.
Well?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So we are good. So let's go create a new file now. That might be one of the last files we create. Create a new file. I know I don't have that in the notes, but I'll update the notes. Create a new file. Doesn't subclass from anything. A little Swift file. Let's call it data source. And it's a class. It's called data source. And we subclass in here from UI table view. Oh, why am I not getting table view? Anybody?
UI kit is not imported.
UI kit is not imported. Very good. So UI table view, diffable data source. This is a generic class. What are the types am I specifying here? It's a generic type.
What string? Is that what you're asking?
I mean, it could be a string, but what is our table view? What types? What's category? Category is gonna be the section type. Very good. And the item type
is the what's going inside.
Is the item, right? Very good. Great. So that's it. Make sure you are able to build after we added that in. So the purpose of that class, now we could implement our protocol methods. Just to give you some context, UI table view data source inherits, or also conforms, not inherits, conforms to UI table view data source. Okay.
What is an opaque pointer?
An opaque pointer?
And yeah, it says an opaque type that represents a category. That's like when you press category, that comes up too, and then it has the category that is regular of type category.
Make sure that category is our type category.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Right. The other one is a built-in category type.
Okay.
On Swift. I mean, maybe it might be better practice to not name it category, because since Swift has a type category already. But for now, just make sure that it doesn't conflict with anything.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, cool. So conforms to UI table view data source. So all the protocol methods on data source, now we could implement them in here. I could just simply say like title for row, not title for row. Yeah, not title for row, but title for header. We'll definitely be implementing that function. So title for header, you could simply type it in, and now you have access to this. And for now, I'll just return, well, actually not just return. What value am I returning here? How do I get the title for my header in every section? When I say title for header, this, like I want to get running, how do I get running here? Go ahead,
Would
Christian.
you put your test data? Okay.
Christian, Tiffany, all members of Intune, feel free.
Oh, I was going to say, you have to do the category in all cases.
Very good. So category, all cases, gives us an array of categories.
Yes, okay.
What else? The compiler is still complaining. What else we need to do? Somebody else who's not in tune.
Section, what is
Somebody
it?
else who's not in tune.
Did I just say it?
That's not, we're missing more here. Somebody else who's not in tune, continue. What else do we need in order for our compiler to be happy again?
The name?
Raw value.
Raw value is something, but I cannot just say raw value here, right? Cubby?
Yeah, is it description? I don't know.
All cases is an array, correct? How do we get an item in an array?
We iterate into the index, well, the index.
If I want a particular item in an array, what do I do?
Subscript.
Subscript, right? And here we have section, which is section here. And now I could say, as Kelby was saying, I could say raw value. And now the compiler is happy again.
How
Right,
come
so-
my all cases is a capital A? It's not giving me a lowercase a.
Definitely, you could type it out. Maybe your compiler is acting like it doesn't have breakfast yet or something. But definitely, you could type in lowercase a. That should work for you.
Yeah, there was two when that popped up. There's the uppercase and lowercase.
Yeah, the lowercase. So Kelby, does that make sense? You need to subscript inside of the array itself using the section value, and now you could do raw value on it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Very good. So now that's going to render our title, for example, running. And running is the raw value. Again, enum review here, raw value is the raw value on our enum property, this raw value here. Everybody with me? Yes?
Yes.
While we're doing those, if you feel like, oh, I can't remember that, just review enums. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So there's a lot of things in programming where we're like, oh, I forgot this raw value thing, just like review enums in that particular case. All right, I think
like
we all.
One all over again.
What's that?
I feel like I have to do unit one all over again.
Well, not all over again. You just go to the Swift. You just go to the Swift language guide document, which we all have bookmarked, and then you just go to the enum section and just review. It's okay. We all review. I review as well, all the time. All the time. We cannot store all that information in our head. All right, so let's continue on. So we have our data. Question? Good.
Yeah, so this part is, are we just setting up, because we usually have the data source on the view controller itself, so we're setting it up over here so that it's separated, or?
We could have that class in the view controller, but now we are separating it because, hey, maybe we could use it in a different view controller.
Okay.
Good question. Because yeah, we could have an extension on it, make the extension type UI table view data source, whatever it is there. But at the end of the day, now this is different from the way we used to do it before with having an extension on our view controller that conforms to UI table view data source.
Got it.
This doesn't just conform to UI table view data source, right? It also has along the way this category and item type as well. So we're just subclassing the entire data source, and now we could just use it in our view controller as the type data source, which you'll see later. Because what we did over, what we did 2 days ago was when we configured our data source, remember we had to include that entire line here, correct?
Yeah.
But today, when we configure in our data source, we'll just say data source and pass it the table view.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Very good. So we'll see different ways to do it, and we're building up along the way there. So we have two apps. We have one app with the countdown, not using subclassing, and then today we'll be using subclassing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Very good. Good question. Thank you for that. All right, so moving on. This is good. We'll add more functions here, by the way, as we continue building the app. But now let's go back to the view controller. And view did load is fine here. Again, the reason why we used view did appear a couple days ago was the table view, the table view was not in the hierarchy yet. So our animation would not work the way we would want it to work. But the view did appear says, hey, my table view is on screen. My table view has been loaded. Go ahead and do the animation. Okay? View did load is not on screen yet, right? View did appear says my view controller is on screen now. You could go ahead and do what you want to do. Everybody with me?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so let us continue. What is the next step here? It says configure table view. Okay, let's do that in code, same like we did last time. We'll write a private function here, configure table view. And, well, we don't have a table view yet. So get a table view, table view. And keep in mind, everything we're doing here for table view could easily be a collection view. The API is pretty much the same. The API could pretty much be the same here. Right. Okay, so configure our table view. We'll start off by saying table view equal to UI table view, and we'll use the initializer that takes a frame and a style. So the frame will say view.bounds. Again, it takes up the entire view. And the style, here we have three options. There's grouped, right? There's inset grouped, and there's plain. We're not gonna do plain like we did for the Countdown app. We'll actually use inset group. It's gonna inset our collection view such that it appears like this UI. So it insets the group itself, an inset. So we'll actually use that option here. So inset group, great. Let's continue to set up, let's set up our constraints. Table view, same as we did with the auto resize and mask here. And we'll say, tick up the whole width, and we'll say, tick up the whole height. Okay, table view, we'll give it a background color. System, make it grouped. System group background. It's kind of like grayish, not really white, but more like a off-white. And then we'll say view dot add subview, add my table view to the subview. And again, I'll always ask that question, what else are we missing here? Not Mr. Bien, you answered last time, I remember.
The cell?
The cell, we need to register the cell. Thank you. Register, and the cell, we don't have a custom. My idea was to create a custom cell. Actually, that could be homework. You could create a custom cell here instead of just using the generic cell. And cell. Okay. Our table view is done, so we could just call configure table view here. Questions before we go configure our data source now?
Hey, Alex, I got a question. It may be a little bit unrelated, but this came up during our build out for the Capstone project. Can you speak about the differences between a private variable and an internal variable?
Very good. Well, more like internal and public, right?
Right.
So internal is when you write in frameworks, like for example, if you write in a Swift package manager, right? Instead of saying public, you say internal, right? Because internal is more when you write in frameworks, basically. You would use the internal access modifier as opposed to like a public modifier or private modifier.
Internal would be in place of public, are you saying? I thought it was private.
Oh, 1 second, let me pull that up because I don't use it that much. That's one of the things I'm saying here. Swift. Access control. Yep, that's exactly what I was going with that. So here, I'll just lock that out. But this is your question here. So internal access enables entities to be used within any source file from the defining module, but not in any source file outside of that module. So you typically use it for when you're building a framework, right?
Okay, yeah.
Right. So instead of using public or whatever, you're saying internal. So within the framework itself, you could use that property.
Gotcha. So it's like different levels of privacy, essentially.
Yep. I will slack this out here, and you can keep that handy. But that's more like when you're writing frameworks. For example, a pod, if you're writing a pod, or if you're writing like a Swift package, you would use those. But not for everyday programming. I'm sorry?
That makes sense in that context.
Yep. And let me just drop this here. I thought I took a screenshot already. I did. Cool. All right. Let's continue on. Thank you for that. So here, where are we? We configured our table view. We have our table view here. Next, we have to go ahead and configure our data source now. So let's go ahead and configure our data source now. So private data source. All right, so we have our data source now. We don't have it yet. Let's create an instance variable for our data source. What type is our data source going to be? Item? What's that, Chelsea?
The class that we made, data source?
The class that we made. Very good. So here, the class that we made. Right. So internally, it looks like the definition we have. I'm not going to type it out here for now. That's okay. But very good. So the class that we made, that subclass is the subclass. Cool. Very good. All right. So we have that data source. We could use it anywhere we want. At the end of the day, you'll see that you could probably use this anywhere you really want some table view or collection view with little much code change. So that becomes very flexible. So let's go ahead and configure it. So back in my configure function, I'll say data source, our instance data source equal to data source, the class data source, and open parens. Again, open parens, and select the one that has the table view initializer. Everybody? Yes?
Yep.
Press enter. For table view, just put in table view here. Go ahead and tab over. Sorry? Was there a question? For the cell provider, go ahead and tab over, press enter, and hit. I keep hearing.
No, sorry.
No, that's okay. For the cell provider, we have table view. Where am I? Yeah, table view, just a property, an argument name, index path, and for the item, you see it already tells you it's an item. So you, again, the thing is very powerful. It knows what type to expect here because already we said it's of the data source class type. So it expects this third argument to be of an item. Great. So let us go ahead and configure our cell. What should our cell be? For now, I will just say let's cell equal to table view dot dequeue reusable cell. The identifier is just cell index path. And for now, let's just return cell and build. Make sure you have no errors. If you have any errors, please let me know so we could work together. Okay. Again, we have the item already, so we could simply just say cell dot text label dot text equal to anything that you want here. Let's just use string interpolation and just say, for now, just item dot name. We'll come back and add more values here later, but for now, just say item dot name. And we are done with configuring the data source itself. Now we'll go to the snapshot. So set up initial snapshot. So here we'll declare a snapshot variable. What's the class I'm typing in here? May?
Yes, I would say the data source.
Data source. Well, the type class is NS diffable snapshot.
Oh, right, yes.
Right? I know there's a lot of different names here, but it's the NS diffable data source snapshot. And the type needs to be what is expected. It has an item, not item, category first, which is the sections, followed by an item. So this is what a snapshot looks like. Again, this needs to match your data source type. If I put string here, if I put string here, I'll get an error later. It's gonna work here because I haven't used it yet. But if I was to apply it, like try to apply this to my data source, I'll get an error afterwards. We'll try to come back and show what that looks like. Somebody please remind me to go back to that. Right now, there's not going to be an error, obviously, because we haven't done anything. Okay. Before we do anything, let us just go ahead and add the snapshot to the data source. Data source, apply, snapshot. And here you could put some animation. We forgot something with the data source animation, right? We forgot to say what type of animation we want. So set up type of animation. Data source dot default animation, we'll say fade. Again, please feel free to test the different animation types and see how they work for you. Sometimes not all the time you want it to animate, so just keep that in mind here. All right, great. So we have a snapshot. We set it to the table view, but we haven't given the snapshot any sections. We haven't given the snapshot any items. But the good thing is we have an enum. So we could go ahead and use the enum. Actually, what's the notes here? So populate snapshot with sections and items for each section. This is the goal. This is what we're gonna do. We wanna populate the snapshot with all the sections and all items for each section. So how are we gonna do that? We'll use a loop, a for loop here. We'll say for category in category dot all cases, which is an array now. And that's the power of case iterable. So here, case iterable allows us to iterate iterate through all the cases. This is exactly what we're doing here. So as we iterate through each category, we'll query, so query the category for, we're not query the category, but query the test data items for that particular categories items. So as we get to a category, we'll use the test data and filter basically. So filter, maybe filter instead. Filter the test data items, test data function, right? We have our test data function. Filter the test data items for that particular categories item. So we have a category here. We'll filter by category and say, just get me your items. Any questions about that? Where we headed?
No, sir.
No questions so far.
Okay. Let items equal to, we have our test data. Again, test data returns an array. On that array, we could do filter, correct? Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just gonna leave myself unmuted because.
So we could filter by anything we want here. So now I could say filter by category, right? Equal to category. And that category is this category. And our item has a category. So all items here will only refer to that particular category. Everybody with me?
Yes.
All right. So if we were to ask a question like that, we know what we're doing? Yes. Yes. Very good. So here we have all the items for that particular category. Great. So now we could simply say snapshot append section, right? What section we appending? Well, we appending the category. So add section to table. And next one is what? Well, we want to use the snapshot and append the items. And the items is items, just like that. Just like that, we should be good here. So we use a for loop. We went through all the sections we have from our enum, all cases from the enum. Then we said, go ahead and get all our data, our test data, filter it by the category property where that equals to the category we are looking at. When we have the items now, we say go ahead and add a new section to our table view. Again, this is hashable, so there's no way we'll have same sections appearing here. So it's unique already by default. So now this particular section, just append the items to that section. All right, this is it. Build and make sure you have no errors. And we should be in good shape to test this out. Making sure to call configure data source, of course.
Alex, you had to go back to something. I don't know what it was because I was typing.
Where are you? Are you done typing the configure data source?
Oh, I finished typing everything.
Oh, just once our thing renders, we'll keep fixing up the cell.
Okay.
Yep, very good, thank you.
I have a question as well.
Yes, sir.
So for the snapshot, do you have to append the section before you append the items?
Yes, section first,
Okay.
then items for sections.
I actually could. There's another function that I think has another parameter in it that allows you to append the item to the section.
Yep, you're talking about, we'll end up using it at some point in this app. Append, you talk about this one here?
Down. Yep.
Yep, you could use that.
Okay.
Yep, very good. We'll add it, we'll definitely use it later, where you say add items to a particular section. I think, we'll use it when we do when we add the UI for the user to enter their own item.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That makes sense.
All right, so let us build. Make sure you call configure table view and make sure you call configure
It
data.
looks so good.
You keep running away from us. All right, so let's just build because Tiffany is miles away. Oh, let me run on my simulator.
Miles.
Look at you, flying away from the party.
I like a
Where's my simulator? My simulator is also hiding away from me here. Simulator. Oh, there we go. That was cool. Is everything correct? Everything in the correct section? That looks good. Cart is empty. That's fine. Triathlon looks good. Household looks good. Health, education, technology, and running. Very good. Was everybody able to get the table view rendered correctly?
Yep.
Yeah. Is there a way to have the section alphabetized?
Yeah, you could do that. You could alphabetize it. You could do things on it. Yep. For now, I think what we'll do here is we have our title also working already, and yeah, everything is just working already. It's almost like we did not do anything here. Let's just add a title. We'll configure our buttons for now. Tomorrow we'll continue on this. And for the cart, I think I want to add a shopping cart here. So let's actually go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that. So go back to our data source class. Is it here? Yeah, here. Let's do it here. So just copy that return statement and simply say this, if this is equal to, or if this is equal to dot shopping cart, we'll add a shopping cart, else we'll just do return this line. Just to add like, some simple UI.
Okay, so wait, if category is equal to shopping cart, then we didn't do it yet. Okay.
Yeah, we didn't do it yet. We'll just add something else. If this return category.
That's inside of the data source?
Yeah, inside of the data source, yeah. Section dot row value, same thing here, but we'll just append a shopping cart to it. Control command space and just add a shopping cart. Again, if you want to find a shopping cart, you could just simply type in cart and, well, not cart wheel, but shopping cart here. Cool. Actually, we might be able to do delete today because we're good on time. We'll probably do delete and then end today.
Shopping cart.
All right. If we were to run that app now, we should get a shopping cart next to our title. Like that. Did everybody get a shopping cart next to the title?
Yep.
All right, cool, great. So let's set up some more UI for tomorrow. That way we have a good place to start. So back in our view controller, let's write configure navbar. We need a title, so navigation item, title. We'll call this shopping list. And we'll add an edit button to the left bar item. So here, let me get some more space going. UI bar button item title. Select the initializer with title, right? UI bar button item with title. So for the title, we'll simply say edit. Style is plain. target self. And for this particular action here, we don't have an action yet, but just put selector. We'll give it an action. And the action is just going to be toggle table view for now. That's fine. Or toggle edit state. All right, that's probably better. I'll go back up, but for now, I'll just add a placeholder function here. Toggle edit state. And this is going to be at Objective-C. Build. So we just added a function, toggle edit state, and one more function before we finish. Add the next function. This is just boilerplate code for tomorrow, so we have stuff ready. And this one is going to be the add button. So we'll just say present add VC. That's okay. So those are the two things we'll be doing tomorrow. So toggle edit state and present add VC, both of them are at Objective-C because we'll be using selectors on them. So go back up. Go back up, and for our left, which is the edit, just call toggle edit state. And one more item, navigation item dot write bar button item, UI bar button item. This time we'll use the system, so not the title, but we'll use the bar button system type. And for that, we'll say add target self, and the action is selector and present add VC. And call your configure navbar. Great. I think I'll leave some homework for us to do. Yeah, so tomorrow. Is that okay? I give you guys homework to do?
Sure.
Huh?
What? Let's build. Let's make sure our navbar renders correctly. Okay, good. So we have our edit. We have our shopping list. We have our add button. So here's what we want. If you're up to the challenge here and you have the time, when we click add, we want to present a modal view. And the modal view will have two text fields and a picker view, right? So again, when we present this add view controller, so for the to-do items, this is more like review and also this practice. To do, create add item view controller. Create, well, I said create already. Create a add item view controller .swift file. Add view controller.
Wait, Swift file?
Well, yeah, you need a Swift file, right? Subclassing UI view controller.
Well, yeah, but I guess I was just thinking that it's gonna be it's a Swift file, but it's a class though. It's the Cocoa Touch file. Okay, it's okay.
Yep, yep. Add a view controller object in storyboard. Next, we need to, so we said add 2 text fields. One for the item name. And other for the price. And we'll have a picker view. So add a picker view to manage the categories. Okay. this add item view controller, what does it do? User is able to add a new item and submit button or whatever, a done button. Okay. So when the user clicks on that done button, what happens? My view dismisses and my item is added. So user is able to add a new item to a given section or given category. Click on a submit button. So we need to get data from that view controller to our view controller now, correct?
Yep.
Yep. So use any communication protocol to get data from this to the.
Is the protocol supposed to be a hint?
No, really. Use any communication paradigm.
Oh, okay. Why would you do that?
Somebody spell paradigm. This is not correct.
P-A-R. Oh, okay.
There's an N in there somewhere.
No.
No? Really?
Yeah, I think that's it.
That's weird. So use any communication paradigm to get data from the add item view controller back to the main view controller. We should probably refactor this. Kind of weird. Cool. Good. What communications do we know? What types of communications do we know?
Delegation.
Delegation.
KVO and FC.
What's that?
Notification center.
Notification center. Anything else?
Segue?
Segue. Anything else?
By the tone of your voice, yes, something else, but
Make it bigger and send it to the database.
So
You're not talking about a Firebase or nothing like that, right?
we could use callbacks or
Okay.
closures, and we could also use combine. Right.
Can you do callback and combine? Can you talk about those just for a second, just to remind me?
Well, we haven't done combine,
Okay, so good.
and we've used mostly delegation throughout everything.
We've only really used delegation. We use
Yep.
notification center maybe like once or twice, and we use KVO like once or twice.
Yep. That's what I just said.
No
right? So
unwind segue.
we use unwind segue as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Callbacks we haven't used that much. Combine we haven't used, but we have heavily used delegation here.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
So just like keep in mind for the interview or whatever, make sure that those are things that you know. And along the way, we'll use all those, whether it be in this particular exercise or future exercises, but those are the ways you could do things.
All right, thank you.
Right? Getting something from like not A to B, or B to A, whatever. Cool. So this is the to-do items for everybody. I would highly suggest we do it, because I might just do it and then just start from wherever we are at that point. Does that make sense? Yes?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So
can you
once,
do the
go ahead.
item when you get the chance?
Oh, the bar button item?
Yeah, the right one.
The right one is...
Right there. Yeah, and also I wanted to know about like the way that we're setting this up, because like I wanted to know if it was like best practice or just like a stylistic choice to set up the view controller here, or like as opposed to the way that we used to do like a view and then like just like, because this is like less less code that we're putting here since it's like a smaller project for class? Is that why we're setting up the UI and everything programmatically here?
The UI, good question. So the UI programmatically, you talk about the table view?
Yeah.
We could totally do it via storyboard, but I just want it to be more dynamic and for us to also see more how to set it up programmatically and to also see how to do it using auto resize and mask here, as opposed to like storyboard. Like my intention is to show us all the ways to do things because we know we have a certain toolbox of ways to do things already, correct? Like with storyboard or whatever, but now I want to show us all the ways to do things. Yes, if you take that away, like if, for example, you could take that away by adding storyboard. Now you have less code in your view controller.
Got it. Thank you.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yep. And the other thing is for configuring the data source, this is pretty much the way it's set up by Apple's documentations, by Apple's WWC videos. You have a configured data source, you set it up here. As far as like the subclassing of the data source here, now you have less code because now you have all the data source protocols in a separate class.
Got it.
And I could also reuse that for a different view controller or whatever I want.
Okay.
Cool. What's the other one that we used? Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, good question. So with people using, again, for here, so once I get my data back here, I could, let me see how I could probably show us here. So for tomorrow, just an example, if I have some protocol method here, I'll just call it protocol method. It has an item, because that's what I get back from my view controller, correct? Everybody? Right? This probably conforms to, like I'm showing us, we could probably actually finish this. So if I have an extension on, this is gonna give us an error, but if I have an extension on this particular view controller, which is just called view controller, and conform to, again, this doesn't exist yet, add item, view controller delegate. Okay, and here I probably have like, did something like that. And this guy has an item of type item. And here, if I have an item, now I could get a snapshot for people that want to take this further. I'm just giving us some hints here. Snapshot, then I would say my data source, get my snapshot from the data source. Get in the habit of the minute you do this line, just go ahead and also do the apply line snapshot. You probably want to have an animation happening. And here, like Mr. Bien said earlier, snapshot, I would just go ahead and add it. So snapshot here, dot append the item. And you'd have to know, well, you know the category. How does one know the category? Like where am I adding? Actually, not this, forget this. Just do append here. So that's the function Ben was talking about earlier. So append items to some given section. So this is what I'll do. I'll do item, which is an array. It just happens to have one item, which is the item that you got here back from your delegation protocol. To what category? Well, how do I get the category? What section am I adding this to? How do I do that?
Item.category.
Item.category. Very good. And at that point, my table view just has the item now. So this is what you need to do. Cool? Yes? No? Maybe?
Yes, yes, yes.
So tomorrow, with much changes, that should just work. Well, you probably need to set that somewhere as you pass in your present add. You need to set the delegate, correct? Yes?
Yep.
All right. So I give us some hints here. So please attempt to do that particular challenge to get items added to your table view. Copy. Good. All right, cool. Any questions before we end the session?
Yeah, I got one. I'm not sure if we touched on it, but what's the warning that we're getting?
What's warning? Do we have a warning here? Something
Like
is not
after you
happy?
run, after you run it. I'm not sure.
It might be, I might have to put the configure. Do I have I know what it is. So that warning is coming from this line here. Back in our table view data source, we're trying to animate it, but it's not in the view hierarchy yet.
Okay.
If I put false here, that error, that warning should go away. Do you still get the warning?
Nope.
Yep. Because what's happening, I'm trying to animate my table view, but the view is not on screen yet.
Okay, gotcha.
That's why we did the view did appear. Very good question. This is why we did the view did appear last time.
Gotcha.
So if you want to have the animation, you'll do it in the view did appear.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Oh, I was just about to ask that question. Okay.
All right. Okay. Very good. Good question there. Thank you, sir. So that's it. We have our working app here, and then looking at the lesson, the only things we have to do: add item to a given section. We just walk through that and what that looks like. I really encourage us for review and also to take our knowledge and understand snapshot. I would say go ahead and do that challenge, so that tomorrow when we come, we just do deleting an item and then reordering an item. Everybody on board with this?
You said deleting an item and what else?
Reordering.
Oh, okay.
So I could like drag Polar down to here. I could drag something down to my shopping cart.
Ooh, that's nice. I thought you were gonna do it where you just tap it and it goes into your shopping cart, but dragging it is better.
Yeah, dragging it. So we'll be able to edit. This edit button will put the table view in an edit state.
Right.
And then I'm able to get the handle and just like drag things down.
Okay.
Cool.